Good day. It's 9:09 Saturday, February 21st. And this is Alisa. Welcome to all my new subscribers. We are officially family, and with so, we are discussing today my bloodline of the O negative. My mother, side of the family, and a little bit of my father's side of the family, all related to this California West Coast Canadian connection I've been telling you guys about. So on Twitter, they kind of raised that price on getting that blue tag. I think it's $11 now a month. I had decided back when I did have the blue tag, and then I just decided not to pay that because of my retirement income, and it's unlimited. And so, with it being unlimited, I have to be choosy, make choices sometimes of where the money shall be spent each month. And I'm grateful to have these social media outlets to be able to speak with you all, because I do like my me time. I told you guys ever since the pandemic, I just had never had this opportunity to just be with myself. You know what I'm saying? Nobody calling for a ride. Nobody's accidentally getting pregnant. It's just, uh, the church and all of everything just all of a sudden froze in time and then dropped. You know how they have the image of the person and then all these things circling around them. And when my mother passed, I had already had some insight and I had already made the move. So I had already removed all my stuff from there, all except a doll that she had bought me. I had one box left in her, I was going to say corduroy, in her coat area where you hang up your coats. I had one box at the top and it said Sissy on it. And it had a doll. It had an old jumpsuit workout where it had the bottom and the top, that parachute type material. And I think maybe one other thing, I don't think did I put underwear in there? I'm not sure. It was a small box, okay? And I left it up at the top because at that time it was difficult for me to let go of the spiritual information that came in about my mother, her health, that house, and that entire situation, that entire connection. So the reason I'm speaking to you about spirituality is that quite often, at first, it doesn't quite make sense. Especially if you're one of those people that like to interpret your dreams and you like to talk to the Almighty and the universe, the sun, the moon, all of this, all of it. If you're one of those kind of people, when you get the message, sometimes you don't quite understand what the message is telling you. At least I didn't at the time. All it told me to do was to get my belongings and I would not be returning. And a lot of times I felt like I didn't want to return because my mom was getting on my nerves. You got $20? You got to look. I told you I would take the house over for you, and all you'd have to do is to pay an electric bill. And then she said yes, and then she said no, and then she was worried that I would take the house from her. I said I would never do that because I'm the one that convinced you to get the house, the townhouse. And at the time, it was assumable. I know I keep talking about these assumable homes, but I'm telling you, for people who have difficulty with down payments and everything else, the assumable homes was God sent, especially for people who served in the military and so forth. We do a lot for this country, and a lot of times we don't get a lot of the blessings back for what all we have poured into this country, and that was one way that we were able to really benefit and reap and get that dream life, that we all were looking for here in America. So, especially with the way the game is played, a lot of us wanted something different than the houses that we had inherited, the land that we had inherited. And we didn't want to deal with trying to do the maintenance on a lot of those old houses. But I tell you, I still love those old houses because a lot of them were brick. They were made out of bricks and cement, and just they were made differently than the wood that you see. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, the house is up. So I still don't feel aligned with those type of houses, but as it may be, a lot of people say those are just as well designed as the brick homes and all the other material that we see. So such as it is, the point of the conversation today is the spirituality and that connection to my Native American information I keep telling you about, even though we were reclassified as black. Now, through time, as I told you, people have been sexually having relationships since the beginning of time. And a lot of you say read a book, but what you must understand is everything isn't documented in a book. Do you write all your little dirty deeds in the book? In your little diary? Do you publish that? I doubt you guys publish your diaries of all your little dirty deeds, okay? So I want you to understand that there are people that existed long before what is written in books. There are communities that existed long before it was written in books. There are black people that were present and on this land that were not slaved or enslaved, and they were not part of the slave trade. And it will not be in your books of like a big group of people. You will not read that as such. And the books that did exist, a lot of them were burned and taken off your shelves and are not in your libraries. They're not even available anymore. There's some simple books that I love that they took off the shelves and you cannot find. The only thing I have is the copy that I chose to print when I heard that they were banning certain books. And at that time, I chose to make a copy of the book in addition to trying to get a hold of the books that they were throwing away, because they literally would just throw them out in the garbage. And I didn't want to dig through the garbage. So I asked the lady at the library, she put it to the side. And do you know this older gentleman made a fuss about that? He didn't make a fuss about anybody else's books. They were doing the same thing I was doing. But that skin color stands out. And it attracts certain people who want to come and just ruin your day because they can. But that insight, that intuition will tell you to go and make a copy of something or to do something. And sometimes you should definitely follow that instinct. But I've also had instinct with simple, silly stuff that it didn't really have an effect if I did or didn't do it. So I guess discernment is one thing that you want to have too. But sometimes those simple, silly things lead to something bigger and better. So you still want to follow your intuition, sometimes as silly as it may be. And that too is something else that we can discuss at a later date. But I was trying to wait for some of you to come in. Some of you have come in, you left, you're gone, and you're not sticking around. So let me just go ahead and get to the point. With the Dragon Crocodile in my indigenous heritage, with my mother being O negative. Now, as I told you guys before, and I've said it numerous times, especially for those of you who go in and out in Africa and able to do so, help me find the O negative tribes. Help me find that bloodline in Africa. I have stressed numerous times that you should never rely on rumors. You should never rely on just one person's or even a group of people talking about something that has been indoctrinated through a certain type of teaching. What you're trying to find is you. And a lot of times you, like your diary, is not printed on Worldwide Net or printed in anybody's book. All your little secret deeds that you do and the way that you believe and how you feel about people is not in print. And that is the point of today, is that certain things exist, certain people do certain things, and it's not in print. You're not going to find it in a book because they don't want to be known for that truth. A lot of people don't want the truth. They got an image. They're trying to hold up an image. And in that image and in these blocks that we've set for everybody to be in a particular block, that's where this race thing comes in. That's why I've never been one that felt race is a real thing. That just has never been my mentality of thinking. To me, it's always been a tool of manipulation and using it as an advantage for one against the other. So, with that said, with the spirituality and the crocodile and the dragon, depending on when you do your research, sometimes you're going to see a lizard instead of the crocodile. But like I told you, we've been here since the beginning, so we're going to have a little bit of both the crocodile and the lizard. But being that we were talking about California and my native connection to California, it would be the lizard, and some will even tell you that it is the snake. Take that all as you're learning. I would not argue over the fact if it's a lizard, crocodile, or a snake. What I would do and what I would recommend, the dragon is one indefinite that did not change. But I did find the discrepancies with the crocodile, with the lizard, and with the snake. Personally, I gave gratitude to all of it. You know, these are your protectors. These are that unconditional love that I keep telling you guys about. Uh, for it to even exist still on the land when you have people that are foreigners to this land here in America, especially on the West Coast, because we have that safety that they want to come in and take out the natives, and especially if they have black skin, because all they hear and of ignorance or even just don't give a rat's butt, but they choose to come in and want to decease some people. And the security that I tell you about, and some of it can be like a jailhouse mentality because of how they think in the jailhouse. A lot of these people have spent many years, a lot of generations have gone in and out of these facilities. So they are taught to think a certain way. And when they have children or they're teaching and they have these jobs in the public sector, they continue to say those same type of venomous words. The blacks, we don't want the blacks to have this and so on. And that's what you've heard through some of our officials. And I'm very sad that the youth or anyone had to hear that. However, I am one of those people that I think truth will set a lot of people free and hopefully will guide you to make better decisions, better decision makings because of someone's truth. But someone is not going to automatically print out their diary of how they really feel about you. Someone's not going to really put in print how we feel about the blacks. But there are some that have, and then that information gets blackballed or denied or removed or blacked out because of the way that it's spoken. They don't want to have that information out in the public. So that's why I don't have a problem with the title of Negro or Black or any other of these names. I was going to say Swahili, but any of the other names that was said prior to now with Jesse Jackson passing and what all that he fought for, the blacks and those who have died in service for the blacks, like a Martin Luther King. And those are ones that they want you to gravitate to more so than some of people like the Black Panthers and some of the people who have fought for you to have the rights that you have today. And a lot of the blacks that are coming in through other countries, and they are quick to say they are not black, they are whatever country that they come from. So personally for me, I do not identify with that African American because of my indigenous heritage. And I've asked a lot of you because I said from the get-go when I started doing this telling my family tree on this website of communication of social media that helped me find the old negative blood types in Africa. Because if you came out of something, you should be able to connect right back with those people, and we should all be able to get together and have a say into what happened, especially when we're talking about reparations and we're talking about healing and we're talking about resources, community resources, and how things should be spent and where they should be spent, and so on. So I have not had not one peep out of that request. Now, when it came to my vehicle, a lot of you said you should have did this, that, and the other. I did the best of my ability because of my 50, how old was I when that first happened? 54? 53, whatever. I had 50 something plus years on this earth of taking a vehicle to a car dealership to get repairs. So I was not expecting to have my vehicle damaged on a business known nation worldwide Jeep dealership, to have my brakes messed up, to have the drum banged on and chipped off, and to have all that damage that was done while on their property. There's no way after so many years that I would have had the insight, even spiritually, if I had a dream. That's where I tell you sometimes I doubt, because of being conditioned and living in a certain lifestyle where you're not expecting those things. So that's why I say you got to trust it, even how silly it may sound. You have to trust that insight. You got to trust your intuition, because it is telling you something, and that is quite often the change. Just like the change with a lot of these businesses now, you don't expect somebody to put something in your food, touching your food, and all the other things that are happening now. And that is part of the change and the shift, with also a different type of people. Please understand that it's nothing against immigration, migrants, or any foreigner of any sort, but understand that they did not grow up in that same community that you're familiar with. They have not been indoctrinated into that type of black and white game that is played in America. So they, of course, is going to pick the other side as a foreigner. They're not seeing themselves as the same as one that was owned by a slave master, the box that most blacks are thrown into, especially the blacks that still exist today. And most blacks that did not have that experience rarely ever put their information into books. Now, I did come across a news statement, and I found it interesting. He's a baseball player. He is part of one of the last names in my Aunt Sarah's Bible that I told you about that we are related to. And they found that, I believe the mother was the part that they found to the black experience of possibly slave something, but then it didn't quite pan out like they thought. But the father was not. And I kept trying to tell people that yes, we married into that situation. When we chose to marry someone who was black and not of indigenous heritage knowingly. Now, there's a lot that just don't even know, and it's so small that they don't even bother to acknowledge it because it was so far back. It's just almost like the whiteness that a lot of people have, but they don't really acknowledge it, and they just go with that one-sided story of their family tree. But trust me that most Americans are their culture, their heritage, their bloodline, all of that is mixed. America has always been a melting pot. It used to be called a melting pot. But then America wanted to change its identity, and they stopped calling it a melting pot. Now, like I told you, you don't write what's in your diary. You don't print that in the book. But the racism has become very obvious, and they've spread it like a disease, and now they're looking around. They can't believe that this is the monster that they've built. But it is. And like I said, most people don't put in print stuff that they write in their diary and their true intentions and feelings. So it's always nice to come across somebody, even if you don't like them and like their decision making and what they're doing, to at least know the truth of where they stand and where they're coming from so you can make better decisions for yourself. And to me, that's the point of knowing the truth about something. Even though I don't like what your behavior do or what it does to my community, the truth quite often sets us free to be able to make a better decision for ourselves. Now, some people have chosen to leave the country, and some people are seeing America as the wealthy white flight leaving. And then it leaves the undesirables. Nobody wants to be in that melting pot of what's called the undesirables. But that's how it was starting to look worldwide. So that decision making and that grid and what we are healing is what a lot of people are trying to destroy. A lot of people don't want America to heal in that way. A lot of people have that jealousy of, I want to be picked. I want to be there. It's very childish. It's not a mature type of behavior, even when it comes to with children and that sexual behavior. That maturity that we think exists is not always so common. Because when you go to other countries where people are still able to marry at a young age and to do certain things and have certain behaviors with younger aged children. So when we bring in immigrants, migrants, and different people, we don't ever talk about those type of details. We don't even talk about the religious difference. And we sometimes excuse those behaviors. But the same behaviors that were undesirable with someone with black skin comes through with those people too, who are destitute and need and demanding. We even had some come in demanding from black places where black people were, but their skin was light and white. And they were demanding, and it was okay. But if they had been black in that, they should have just been grateful for the opportunity. So you get my point. I trust that you're getting my point. If you're not getting my point, that could be why I have small followers. And that's okay with me. Because if you don't ask the questions, you're not going to know, and you're just going to be upset, and that's not helping the flow. I'm talking to those people who get it, and we can have the conversations and share information, understanding of our spirituality, and especially those of us that are 50 plus now. Because we know and we hear of being lighthearted when that time comes. That's why we don't have the fear, however that it comes. Because we are at peace. We know how we have lived through so many years and things have changed. And we are open to receive whatever that change is from the great divine, from the universe, from our Lord, from our God, from all of that good stuff, including the blessings that have been given to us throughout generations. And we also know that that one big box of slavery was not the beginning, and damn sure enough is not the end of our existence on that earth. We've come from so much back in the day to bring us to the present, and that was one section that till this day we keep telling you it violated our human rights. But since some of you like to read the books on how a lot of these people were treated and how they were taken off this earth. A lot of people did not just die peacefully and sleep one day. That's, to me, one of the best ways to leave out. You just went to sleep, and you know what? I decided I didn't want to wake up back to this. But you don't want to be poisoned by somebody. You don't want the manipulation. So that's why I'm not one of those people that believe everything happens for a reason type thing. And, the manipulation isn't playing a role. Manipulation is very highly for most people. There's usually some type of deceitful act of something that took place when someone is taken off this earth. They did not get to fulfill their God-given rights and opportunities granted to them when they came onto this earth, because someone felt like they were more powerful than God Himself and decided to do something to you in a harmful way that took you off of this earth. I believe we all have something that could be positively contributed to our time here on this earth at any age, even if it's just a mental state of having that peace and giving that unconditional love and being happy for someone else achieving their goals. And that's why I say it's more important to a lot of times help people in their own home than trying to bring them all into yours. I don't think that that's healthy. And I think that's why the numbers show the way that they do for actual Americans versus those who are first generation or just coming in to all of this. I think it's sad when you have people that have invested so much and be treated so bad. I think for any human being worldwide, but definitely for those with this theology of what they think of human rights, but yet in their own doing the same thing of what they're looking in through a lens and projecting somewhere else, and they're doing the exact same thing. So personally, when it tells me and confirms what I felt spiritually, I know I'm on the right track. And a lot of times that walk is a lonely one. And I find it interesting when I get the information that solidifies what I'm telling you, and yet a lot of you still have problems with it. That's not my problem. I'm sharing with you for those who want the information. But if it is not in alignment with how you feel or your spirituality or whatever it is that you're doing, you move on. You don't try to focus and look at the picture of the person and try to send negative energy to them. Because the shit's going to come right back to you, especially if you're projecting it this way. I'm just not that kind of person. And I don't want you telling me about how this person did it, because I'm going to give you some information about that person you're telling me, and you're not going to like that information. You're only going to choose the positive side of the person that you follow. But there's a positive and negative just about to everything throughout life. And it depends on whose lens and whose eyes are looking and listening. So when I talk to you about the ties to the dragon and the crocodile, you may not even understand this, but it can be something for you to look up for yourself. And this is for my Southern California indigenous, my group of people. Okay? So I'm sharing with you the information. I will be putting together some more stuff that you can just read. I'm going to keep it really brief. And then if you want more information, you can look it up for yourself. So these are the transmitters of knowledge. These are the agents in cosmology and links between human and spiritual worlds. The animals that capitalized in traditional stories. Often possess human-like traits or serve as shamans or guides. So when you see the discrepancy of sometimes it's saying crocodile versus the lizard, it's because of California's environment and favors more of local reptiles like a lizard or a snake, especially with Arizona. The serpent guardians. So they appear in broader Pacific Rim and Mesoamerican influence indigenous lore. And then I have that Hawaiian Polynesian layer. The lizard dragon guardians, the water, the land protectors, provides the strongest direct parallel. Now, I've had a lot of dreams. I've had a lot of insight. I had a lot of information. I don't share a lot of it just recklessly because of, like, I just went through that whole 20-something minutes about people and their behaviors. And they're not always favorable. Was never meant, being on social media was never meant to be a negative. It was meant to share and connect for me. At no time when I connected with the YouTube and social media was I thinking in the realms of how social media is done today more in the business aspect and so forth. I wasn't thinking along those lines. Now, new day, and you're trying to market yourself a little bit different, possibly to be able to reach and be a bridge to a lot more people, and especially those who actually may need this information or desire to know more about it. So that um, shifting, shape shifting dragon lizard tied to chiefly lineages, protection of sacred sites, and ancestral power. Very much the dragon crocodile in essence, and that serpentine body, and all of that. That those little pictures and images that I've put up, and a lot of you have clicked and understood. And then there are those that are still having a little bit of difficulty of understanding what it all means. And humans is one strand in a web of life, with animals holding special powers beyond physical form. This supports interpreting your vision as ancestral medicine activating. This all has to do with the healing, the guardianship of the land, echoing Khalifa's restorative spirit in California indigenous narratives. I still have that desire, as I told you guys before, to have a safe space and place for a lot of you to come to California and talk about the gifts, your God-given gifts that have been given to you, and to be able to share with other people and give insight, a safe space to be able to do so. Because to me, safety is always first, because people can be very violent. People can be very, like I said, trying to take power in a way of removal versus trying to heal. And I'm all about the healing. And a lot of times, a lot of people don't want you to heal. A lot of people want you to stay in a little stank attitude. And that seems to be the more than on the other side of actual healers and people wishing you good. Stank attitude has become a norm in America, and it's spread like wildfire. The stank attitude has now been propped up as like cute. So, to carry on here, no major contradictions arise. The symbolism blends seamlessly with my West Coast native primacy, predating other migrations and Pacific Islanders extensions. So the Pacific Islanders connection with the native that were already here. Okay, so I just share with this because a lot of times people just see my black face and then they say African American, and they go all off into this deep box that does not apply. And I can try to make it apply if you want, and I told you what I needed. But I haven't found anyone that has helped with that bloodline of O negative in Africa. Nobody even wants to talk about that. And then they try to say, well, maybe this. I don't want to hear no what, well, maybe. Especially from a person who's a scientifically, let's get some stuff to get factual backing information. Because if I wanted to just ramble on about an opinion, then I would tell you, as I always tell you guys, whiteness does not exist. We already know what kind of gene that it is. So knowing that, you still have Africans and black people that would say these are totally different people. It's not based on whiteness, though. You can have a different group of people that came from black people as a recessive gene, and it not be a black and white thing. It just does not exist. It is a man-made buffoonery, crazy ass, let me take your money and keep you stupid way of thinking. And it's working. Congratulations. So now when we talk about the healing, we can move on and talk about what it means to heal the land, as we're taking the oil from it, and we're taking the resources from the land. We keep taking. And then as the immigrants come in and the migrants, they told you that they're coming to take. I like that. I respect that lady that just put it all on the line, and she said she gonna get her an old white guy. She gonna marry her an old white guy. Girl, go do what you need to do for yourself. You know, do that's what you want and you coming all the way from wherever you came from to get an old ass white man, do that if that's your goal. I personally just got something else that I want to do for myself, my land that my people came from. I'm in a different head space, body space, spiritual space, and everything else. As I told you guys before, I don't F with people. I don't bother people. If that's what you feel is your thing to do, then you do that. What I do have a problem with is when people coming over on mine and saying, no, go away. That's what sovereignty and freedom is all about, is having a space and place to be able to just be and not be harassed, not be somebody trying to plan and take you off the earth or run you down when they see you fixing on your vehicle and their white vehicle is nice and shit like that, but they want to destroy you. That makes no logical sense whatsoever. So all of this is going on, and you're trying to figure out how you can do balance spirituality along with everyday common living luxuries and leisures in life. Like, where can I financially be able to get the healthy good foods? So you look in your chart and you find where it says there may be some challenges in this area of your collective and community needs. So I look up for something because I believe in the Almighty of God and the Lord and all of that, and I see a God's pantry. So I call before I even go. I'm one of those kind of people. I keep getting information and I call before I step foot on these places. So that's why for me, I like truth and honesty. I like for somebody to say, yeah, I don't think you want to come over here because a lot of these people used to be incarcerated and they don't feel that great about blacks, blah, blah, blah. I'd rather have that truth than you pretending that you all so godly and spiritually, and then I get there and you mistreat me or do damage to my vehicle. I'd rather have the truth up front and go somewhere else than to come and see God and think God is there and God is delivering this food and giving me the good food that I've seen, because I'm like, this is some really good food. You guys got some really good salads. You had some really good food. You had some really good vegetables. I have to tell you that that was one of the best places I had ever been, that their food was really good looking. And I'm not saying that they don't have bad food here. I'm just saying when I was there, everything looked really good. They even had water, but they didn't give me any. So the point of what I'm trying to say, just because you see God written there and people saying they're Jesus Christ and all of that, and they're saying all this and they're walking in that walk, does not mean that their heart and their behavior is as such where it's so godly that they're not trying to harm you. Because even people now with guns are saying, even with Jesus Christ, is they're shooting about 8 something bullets into you. So that is what I'm trying to say, is that don't be fooled, don't be manipulated. And that negative is still there, even though you're trying to be positive. And there are people that feel that they are more empowered and better because of whatever reasons in their head. And most people, it's in their head. And we've already discussed a million times over of the mental health issues that go on in America. And some of them have been normalized now to the point where I don't even think you could get sufficient help because of it. Because they've made it so natural now. They made it so normal of certain behaviors. So yes, read a book and understand how gritty and nasty that America has been and still is. It's a projection and a way of protection to give you and send out a particular image. And a lot of people who have manifested were not always in the most positive light. They weren't always in the positive mindset when they won the lottery. So you can win in whatever pissy, stanky attitudes. Those people win. God is listening to their prayers. Or some of the most beautiful, kind people, God is also listening to their prayers. And some of them even still win lotteries and different good luck type things. So what I'm sharing with you, I'm just sharing with my mysticism and experiences in my bloodline as a black. And you know how some of these people feel about the blacks. And I'm sharing that information with you because we're talking about humanity also. We're talking about a spiritual experience and how humans treat one another, the behavior, and how we've been indoctrinated to believe and think a certain way. And then you're bringing in more foreigners who were not raised that way, migrants. They're not thinking about any of that. You know? So, this is pretty accurate for me. And as I told you guys before, you read the books. You read the books too of something other than what you already know. So you can know something about other blacks that exist, not just those that you know, or your situation that you want to hear, that you want to talk about. And if you don't want to talk about it, then don't come on over trying to beat down somebody else who doesn't fill the shoes of how you think that they should fill them, or how the box of being a slave or whatever else that you think it should be. Don't get mad when it's not, and then trying to decease and take them off the earth because it doesn't fit your narrative. God put these beautiful people on earth just like they put your stank ass on the earth. Okay? Or maybe the stank ass is us. Whatever that it is, the point is that they have a right to exist too. And if you really spiritual, then you will think, well, maybe he separated the earths and the people and whatever for a reason, since those of you who believe that things happen for a reason. I'm where I'm supposed to be spiritually. I walked with that guidance. I believed in faith. And I'm exactly where I am today. And all those little small wins I'm grateful for, whether it be a big win for me to be able to share with other people, and you come and you share your God's gifts. That's what I want as a black ownership person, understanding the way that we think in our philosophies, not some mainstream or something that you've read in a book. Something different, something that nurtures you in a different way for some of those of us who have been displaced just because of the color of your skin. And that's why I had listed before they took it off my Twitter bio and information and all my work history. I don't know why they keep doing it. I keep putting it back up and they keep taking it off. Put it back up, taking it off. Possibly because I don't pay the $11. The fee changes. Now it's 11. I may click on it again and may show me something different. I don't know. But I'm also elderly and on a set income and always seeking every day for somebody to see my talent and say, I'd like to hire her for something, or maybe give me a contract for something where I can make a little bit or maybe a lot. But whatever it is, yes, I too am looking for opportunities just like you are coming in from wherever the hell that you're coming from. I wish I could go to your country. Like I keep telling you guys, they're not offering us somewhere else to go or some kind of money. They don't even want to pay the reparations. But they do want to pay immigrants. They do want to pay foreigners. And the judge has already said that with everything, the taxes and however that you feel about him, our president, he still was on the money when it came to some of those agreements and what he chose to do, whether you agree with it or not. However, if you want to look at it as a negative, is that they still get the money and spend it outside of us. Like they're not pouring any resources and money and things into us. So you can look at it in many different ways. But like I keep telling you, only thing that I'm focusing on and wishing for is a win. Folks that look like me, folks that are really putting their effort in. And they're not trying to do it in a sneaky way or take somebody off the earth or underhand or undermine something. Like someone really has a talent or a skill, or they come to work and wake up every morning and do the routine and give their all. And so I'm looking for followers and people who want to chat along those lines. That's why I say if you're working on something and you want to work together on like a goal or an ad or losing weight or flat stomach, I've been able to accomplish that even though I'm still big. I don't know what that's about. That's why I say my issue is more with inflammation than it is just being just fat for the sake of being fat. I have a chronic inflammation issue, and that was part of my disability issue when they gave me disability, along with diagnosing it as lupus. Lupus can form in that same way, but to me, lupus has always been a disease that they just don't know what the hell's going on to me. That has always been what lupus represents to me. Because some people, if you get the right doctors, they can get down to the nitty gritty and get you a name for your disease, even if they make one up or say that it's rare and we think it's that. But if you don't have the resources or the connections or the doctors who want to get down to the nitty gritty and find out what's going on with you, you're going to be thrown in that big old box. And that box is sometimes called lupus. Or it's the black box that people have hypertension or what have you. We can go on about that. It gives me a headache. So the point of what I'm trying to say is not everything is for everybody. And that goes along with the food. Be careful with the foods. Now that they have our genes and our makeup, a lot of us have taken those tests. They have the genealogy. They have your DNA. They have all of those patterns. And they were making certain medicines for those supposedly to help. But I told you what kind of help I've seen in my lifetime from a lot of these people. Even when they took me out of the hospital, that's the words that came out of that man's mouth is, I'm trying to help you. Some of you say, okay, everything happens for a reason, blah, blah, blah. It didn't have to happen. In a healthy world where people are healed, you're able to go to a hospital and get what you need and not be thrown in a jail and denied health care for 19 days. And then a bus driver to leave you on a freeway for somebody to run in the back of the bus, and for the blessings and for this dragon crocodile energy to protect you while you're sitting there on one of these busiest, because it's like a freeway for them in North Carolina on this street. Storage unit was there too. But the point is, you realize the protection in each scenario, how that protection has been there. So it's not just the white folks that may be doing evil or bad. You got black folks that do that to other black people, and the same to white people, do the same to other white people. Hispanics do the same to other Hispanics and Latinos, and it just goes on and on and on of the harm that is done to another human. The black and white issue is just something to take you away from your focus and making sure that you're doing whatever it is that God put you on earth, not to go and meddle somebody else. Some people feel that they are the watchers. They read something and they feel that that is their duty to monitor and be a nuisance to somebody, a pain in somebody's ass. Some people feel that that is their calling. So overall, the description is accurate and well sustained within esoteric, indigenous, symbolic frameworks. No significant distortions or unsupported claims. It serves as a potential personal archetype for my current phase, reclaiming guardian power, embodying ancestral medicine and healing, restoring through my unique bloodline and spiritual blueprint. So this vision has recurred or evolved recently, especially in 2026 energies. So we can explore more, and I write it up like this, so all I have to do is take a picture up and put it up for you to read too. And as I said, if you want your chart, if you want me to give you a reading, it's $33.33 for those general type of services. We have been talking now for about 48 minutes, 38:38, and we're going to go ahead and sign off. And as far as any rituals, I'm not one for that. It's not like I say it's a negative or a positive. I'm just saying for me, it's more of a mental mindset. Is stronger for me than some of the other stuff. Personally, when I burn Apollo Santos or the sweet grass, I just love that smell. I love the scent. I really feel happy, and the energies that are pulled in, just like people that burn tobacco and stuff. It's a very similar type of experience. And I just love burning the Palo Santos and the sweet grass and so forth. All of those, the myrrh and frankincense, all of those that I've shared with you. I even like wearing the frankincense as an oil, body oil. So if you have any questions, as always, this is going to take a minute to upload. The longer videos always take longer and they use a lot of the phone battery. And that's why a lot of times I don't do a lot of longer extended videos because of my mobility issue and not having the home for my disability needs. And I'm grateful for what I do have. I'm grateful that the vehicle is still running, even though it's raining, pouring, and I had to do my own wrap on my vehicle to keep the water from coming in, and still get blessed with a little of the water to flow and to clean and so forth. So I'm grateful nonetheless, and I trust that all of you are too. And those wins, those small wins, make a difference. So much love and respect to my new and my old followers. I appreciate all of you. If you have any questions or anything you want to chat about, Mondays are our days. And so today I was just going over with you that discrepancy that sometimes you may see the dragon and the crocodile, but depending on the region, like Florida, you're going to see crocodile, but on the West Coast, you're going to see, you may even see the lizard on the East Coast or Southeast with Florida, the lizard and the crocodile. Now, for the West Coast, though, obviously it's going to be different. It's going to be like the lizard and the snake. Uh, but you get the point of that type of spirituality and the dreams and the visions that you're seeing. So some of it, a lot of people don't take serious, you know. And like I told you, some of it I just kind of dismissed. But at this age now, and where I'm at, I take all of it, and I also communicate with it with my limited mobility, and I do the best to my ability to do whatever it is that that insight has brought to me. I think the biggest uh, one that I didn't follow when it came to the lottery, but then I also, when I did follow it, I also had blockages, the girl locking the door, the girl tripping out, spazzing out, and tripping. I mean, just literally tripping. And I still, with her being crazy, good thing she didn't have a gun, like they treated the black girl at the Asian store where she shot her. I still went ahead and got my tickets out the machine and then left. But she was hopping up and down, I mean, like losing her mind. So, as I told her, I would never. So, I don't know why I'm even attracting that energy, but it happens, especially when those changes are about to really take place. I can confirm that I don't call them demons or monsters, whatever, because then you see them when they're acting normal. But there is a change in them when the system is shifting in your favor like that. Some of them spaz. I was about to say the fuck out and I said it. So I said it out loud, okay? So some of them do that. And it's weird because you're looking at this person that you see on a normal, regular basis, and all of a sudden they're spazzing out and acting a fool. And then they give up these reasons. You're like, whatever, that's still you. It's still a behavior that you should be able to control. And that's why I said the maturity comes in, and that spirituality and your ability to control a lot of times that behavior where you want to be so vicious. And a lot of people that come from certain places are not going to have that self-control because that's who they are and that's acceptable from where they've come from. And then you're bringing that into here, and us not knowing them or anything or even being able to communicate to them because of a language barrier is very concerning. And that's why I say safety first, because I'm always to myself, I don't mess with people, I don't F with people, I'm not that kind of person. But it bothers me when those kind of person thinks that they can come and disturb my peace. So it's hard for them to just keep walking like they do when they see bodies and from where they came from and stuff, but yet here they want to behave differently. It's really weird. It's concerning. But I will digress and let it be, because the point of this conversation was that spiritual blueprint and that bloodline and the archetypes, and meditating and focusing on what you want. And I know for myself is that continued peace, and I'm grateful for that unconditional love that I keep talking to you about. And some of you may feel, well, is it really unconditional? Yeah, it's been unconditional for me. I can only share for me. I cannot really say what how it's going to be for you, because a lot of it has to do with belief systems. It's like anything else. Your belief systems, how you're walking through this life. So, if you want to talk more about it, that unconditional love, what is it really like? What have my experiences been? We can talk about that. Now, some of my choices, some people may have done it differently. Like when that man was in our house and nobody knew who the man was, and he was living on our couch. And then he comes and says he wants my room. And then some girl was, you know how people with the door, when you open it, they come to try to bum rush it and open it. Well, she was getting ready to do that. And I was like, girl, I do not want to have to call the police, because when they come through with us all being blacks, it was not going to pan out well. And that's why I didn't call the police on them, because I knew that situation was not going to end well. I went ahead and just got my stuff and I left, and I called the cab driver. They were some weird white folks, okay? I'll be very honest. If you like the white thing, then I'll tell you that scenario one day. But I don't look at whites like that. They came from somewhere. They got a country. They got a name other than whiteness, just like blackness. It doesn't exist. But I guess that elementary thinking style, like a damn crayon, that's how some people talk. I don't do that. But I will share it with you if that helps communicate with you about an experience and for you to understand the scenario. It's just like the woman, I think, was male or all that kind of stuff. A lot was going on. And that's why a lot of times I just like to have my space in place, because a lot of times when you get the opportunity to be with others, they bring in whatever that their circumstances, the situation is, versus when you're just quietly with the spirit, with the energy, you have time to really just to spend with yourself. Some people have problems with that. I love it. I love spending time just with myself and learning more and more, or just being, just sitting in that essence, in that unconditional love. It is truly a divine experience. So if that's something that you want to talk about, let me know. I'm just sharing mine. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I've said it numerous times. It's the first time I've ever had that time to just spend with myself in the divine and the Lord, my God, and whatever name that you want to give them. It's nice to have that conversation and to look over my life, and even spiritually when you're get back to prior lives and stuff. It's been interesting. It's been entertaining. I like it. A lot of people don't like to have that reflection of themselves because of the type of life that they've had. I had some experiences that probably wouldn't be favorable, but even then, I found gratitude through it all. And like I said, um, a lot of these people have surfaced in a interesting way, being that I had experience with them as a child. And so one of the things that came to mind when I was tweeting out the interview of the black farmer, and he was saying that he had met the president. Well, I got to meet the president too. And one thing that I don't know if he remembered or not, but they do background checks. And they were able to connect some things about my family and his family and so forth. And they did find our farmers, our landowners, and it's interesting how they described them versus how I had described them, knowing my family tree. So he said they were farmers, and a lot of people think of farmers as poor. So when I was talking to the president, he's my favorite president when I was young, and I was happy to meet him. And he talked about the similarities. And that's how I had learned to always find that similarities in another human being, was through scenarios like that. They're reinforced. So President Carter was my peanut favorite president. And when I met President Carter and we were having a conversation, and as a kid, you're going to be telling everything, but they already knew a lot of things about our family because of when they let you come through, they do the background information. So I asked him, we talked on the phone first, and he asked me if there was anything I wanted to know or what have you. And that was one of the things about my family tree because of the blacks and all that African talk and everything that people are talking about now, where they take you from your placement here in your land and your ownership of land and where your people were, and all of a sudden they just throw you as Africa on a boat. Well, my people had owned land, and he was able to confirm that. And I appreciate that, and it brought tears to my eyes. And I said we were land owners. And that's the distinction there I want you guys to understand, is that even though he say that they were farmers, this is just a portion of my family, okay? So when we're talking about indigenous and we're talking about landowners, and then we're also talking about people who were farmers and so forth. So he confirmed all that for me. He also confirmed our native. He confirmed everything that I had already known through what was taught to me about my family tree and my people. So my Aunt Barbara, when I was little, she gave me a nickel that had an Indian head on it, and she was talking about our family tree in the native and so forth. And she did it with this nickel. She gave me the nickel. And at the time, I told you guys I was still working with Fosse doing modeling and so forth. So she had given me some jean shoes. They were really cute, and a jean jacket, a little jean outfit. And I wore that outfit to one of my auditions and stuff, and I got it, and I called her, and she had visioned me in that outfit getting that, um, getting that thing that I had auditioned for. So those things, when I tell you, when I think of the gratitude, that's one of those things when I think back in the life I was young, very young, especially when I met the president. So we talked about a lot of stuff. I'm going to keep that very simple because I think that would be another video and it's very interesting. But President Carter was my favorite, and that's why I put him up on one of my pages, and how he thought, and the respect that he gave, and he really seemed sincere. Now, a lot of people didn't like him for other reasons, but if you've ever owned a farm or you owned some land, then you looked at him a little bit different. And I'll just leave it at that for today. So we've been talking for an hour. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And for the energies of 2026, we are now in the new year. And I really appreciate a lot of you from different backgrounds and heritage and so forth, and coming together and sharing that information. And we find our similarities, and we find the human kindness amongst ourselves, and how we want to better ourselves and our communities and the land, and keep it healthy and breathable, and our water drinkable. And we want to keep things affordable. It's gotten so out of range, and then with people losing their jobs, we're not going to be able to have as much luxury as we once had. And a lot of these people are taking it too far. They've taken it too far, and of course there's going to be pullback, and we're just living through those times. So at this age, I always just give the gratitude. Of course, it's not going to be how it once was. We will never be going back in time. That is one thing I can indefinitely reassure and tell you. What I know for sure is that we will not be going back to any of this stuff. The good days are just like when my grandfather talks about his time. It will be very similar to those type of things. We are not going back. So with all that said, we always trust in the highest of all powers, regardless of how these mediocre gods may think that they are. And we trust in the highest of the highest power. And that's how I'm looking at it. And I trust in that unconditional love, the light that sees and alls and reveals itself, it seems, when it wants to, and when it doesn't, we just let it be, and we just be grateful for the presence in our life and the gifts that are given to us. And I still trust and all that it looks out for me every day, every moment, every minute. I am grateful. And much love to all of you. We'll chat later.